I'm here on a job site with Tim, who owns his own electrical contracting business.
3 employees and 2 work trucks.
Tim traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance. We're positively here where he needs us most.
They sure are.
With step-by-step help on all his insurance needs, all for shockingly low rates.
Shockingly low, huh?
Just a little bit of electrician humour. Do you get it?
I got it.
You know, it feels like we have a real connection. All right, I'll stop.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
And away we go, episode 1265 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, February 20th, 2026, and this is the 5-year anniversary installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Yes, we have lasted for 5 years. We have lasted for half of a decade. This podcast has lasted for as long as Jim Haslett lasted as Washington Redskins defensive coordinator, 5 years. January 20th, 2010 to December 31st, 2014. That was the Jim Haslett tenure as Redskins defensive coordinator, the 2010 through 2014 seasons. 5 years. When I started this podcast, my goal was to last for at least as long as Jim Haslett lasted as Redskins defensive coordinator, and we have done that. The first episode of this podcast came out on February 9th, 2021, but that was an introductory episode of the podcast. When you start a podcast, you have to do an introductory episode before the podcast gets cleared on various platforms. So I count February 22nd as the true start of the podcast. February 22nd, 2021 was the first full-fledged episode of the podcast. That was when I started putting out a new episode of the pod each weekday morning, Monday through Friday, with each episode out oh so early each morning. Each episode is out by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often much earlier than that. This is the podcast that wakes up with you. This is the podcast that follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This is a podcast on which we talk Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. But we also go in-depth on many of the other major teams in D.C. area sports, the Washington Nationals, the Baltimore Orioles, the Washington Capitals, the Washington Wizards, Maryland football and Maryland basketball, Georgetown basketball, Virginia football and Virginia basketball, Virginia Tech football and Virginia Tech basketball, Navy football, and much more. We cover a lot of ground. We, in the description for each episode, provide a clear outline of each segment so that you know what is where and can pick and choose what you want to listen to. Although we do recommend listening to every segment of every show. But we're proud of what we do, and we have you to thank for the success of this podcast. So thank you. Thank you for listening, for downloading, for subscribing, for rating, for reviewing. And thank you to the many great sponsors of this podcast, including the Nace Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, Dr. George Verghese, Nova Fireplace and Stove, Catering by Uptown, at WSH on the Daily on Instagram, BGObsession.com, and the BGO Blind Pig Podcast. Our sponsors are wonderful and very much appreciated. And so we say hello and welcome to this Friday 5-year anniversary installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Sunday is the official 5-year anniversary of the first full-fledged episode of the podcast on February 22nd, 2021, but we are marking this episode for Friday, February 20th as the 5-year anniversary episode. Consider this the kicking off of the 5-year anniversary celebration weekend. How should we celebrate? What should we do? Who should we do it with? I'll hang up and take your answer off the air. In the meantime, next segment, one of our favorite guests, a guest most appropriate for this 5-year anniversary episode of the podcast, Washington Commanders analyst and former Washington Redskins tight end Logan Paulsen, who is going to go in-depth on the Commanders' new offensive coordinator David Blough and new defensive coordinator Daronte Jones, including whether Logan sees similarities between Blough and former Redskins offensive coordinator and current Los Angeles Rams head coach Sean McVay, what the biggest challenge for Blough as a first-time offensive coordinator will be, what kind of a defensive scheme Logan wants to see from Jones, and whether the Commanders' woeful defense in the 2025 season was more about bad talent or bad coaching. Logan Paulsen, next segment on David Blough and Daronte Jones. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Wizards, who sadly won on Thursday night, a 112-105 win over the Indiana Pacers at Capital One Arena on Thursday night in a fierce battle of two tanking teams. The extent to which each team tried to lose this game cannot be overstated. I'll explain. Also, I'll react to comments from Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James on the direction of our Wizards. Dare I say praise from LeBron for the direction of the Wizards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Deb Batch on this podcast. Writes Deb. Greetings, Al. I apologize in advance. This may get a little wordy. I'm a longtime listener and Washington, D.C. sports fan back to the George Allen years, but have never written, called, texted, or tweeted. I think of you as kind of a kindred spirit, not only as a Washington sports team fan, but also because we share a birthday, December 13th, and my son also shares this birth date. And similar to you, he has carved out his own niche in sports journalism tracking NHL microstats. I know I am probably not your target audience, being of a certain age and gender, but I wanted to acknowledge your dedication and consistency to producing a great podcast. You are one of my go-to daily podcasts. I know your daily podcast will give me any DC sports information I need and or missed. Many of us download these podcasts on our device of choice and listen via earbuds, which makes the experience more personal, almost like having a conversation. Your particular information is delivered in a concise, coherent, and non-offensive manner. I try not to offend. It is thorough, current, well-researched, and non-repetitive. Your guests on the podcast are given opportunity to speak without interruption or debate. In addition, your podcast is flawlessly edited and produced, and that is a reflection of your commitment to publishing a great product. I don't know what's going on lately with other podcasts that think it is acceptable to insert advertisements mid-sentence. I know you are conscious of all of these things that I mentioned. Just want you to be aware that the listeners notice and appreciate the effort. Anyway, know that you have loyal listeners, dare I say fans, that recognize your conscientiousness and diligence. It can be grueling to churn out a daily product. My son also works hard on his Patreon and Substack endeavors and values any recognition to his work. He created the All Three Zones project, and he is at Shutdown Line on X. Thanks for taking the time to read my ramblings, a listener on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. P.S. I still struggle to understand when the musical chairs started at the radio station, how some of you were left without seats while others found spots. I can't be the only listener who thinks this. Well, thank you very much for the email, Deb. What a nice email. I greatly appreciate that. And Deb, know this. Everyone is the target audience of this podcast. We want everyone to listen to this podcast, no matter your gender, age, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, politics, social security number, cell phone carrier, whatever. We welcome everyone to this podcast with open arms. Consider each episode a giant bear hug. And regarding my departure from radio, from the Team 980, so that happened in January 2021. I got fired. I got let go. I got parted with, as was said with what the Commanders did with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. They parted with him. Don't say that they fired him. No. They parted with him. And actually, I was not under contract when I got let go, so technically, I suppose that I could say that I was parted with. So I got parted with just a few months after 980 was sold for a second time in 2.5 years. The station kept being sold and was a mess. I was not given a true reason for being parted with. Me being parted with was really strange because my new boss, the program director, Chris Kennard, just a few days earlier, had taken the time to have a lengthy conversation with me, a conversation that he initiated, and he, during that conversation, said mostly positive things. I mean, a few pointers here and there, That's great. I always enjoyed being coached, but the conversation was a lengthy and overall positive and encouraging conversation. Why would he take the time to do that if he was about to fire me, which he did just a few days later? Makes no sense. The whole thing was really strange. Well, I eventually was told by two people who I won't name, but you would know who they are, why I got let go. And these two people told me what they told me separate from each other and unsolicited. I did not ask either of them about why I was let go. I was not going to do the needy thing of whining and crying about being let go and why they let me go. I was not going to do that. I didn't do that. But each person told me unsolicited why I was let go. And each person said the same thing. And I won't say what each person said because it does me no good to say what each person said. But the reason had nothing to do with my performance or attitude or salary. Trust me, I was not a big cap hit. Honestly, I'm not even sure that me being let go was Chris Kennard's decision. This may have come from his corporate bosses. The station had just been bought by Entercom, which in March 2021 rebranded as Odyssey, and which in September 2024 completed Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring. That right there says a few things. But when I heard the reason for why I was let go, I actually was kind of glad that I was let go because I didn't want to be a part of something that operated that way. And the truth was that the radio station, which I'd been a part of in some form or another since Memorial Day weekend 1998, had and has declined significantly due to bad ownership and bad management and being on AM. And looking back, I was done a favor in being let go, in being parted with, because the station, sadly, is a shell of what it was. You know, what has happened with 980 reminds me so much of what has happened with the Washington Post sports section. And like newspapers dying, radio is dying. Podcasts are rising. And so I needed to get into this. I needed to get into podcasting and probably needed the kick in the pants of being let go to get into podcasting because I am a loyal person. And as you perhaps can tell, I am very routine oriented. And so I don't know if I would have ever just left 980 on my own after being there for 2+ decades. You know, it's cliche to say that things happen for a reason, but there is something to that. And I do believe that. So anyway, thank you for supporting this podcast, including via supporting our sponsors like Quince. Like a well-built team, a well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather shifts. Quince has the everyday essentials that I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons. The list goes on. Also, Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing. Everything is built to hold up to daily wear and still look good season after season. And Quince only partners with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. I have a Quince blue wool pullover. Looks good, keeps me warm, is durable. It's tremendous. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Hey, for all of you parents out there with teenagers, we know that you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Well, Cash App is here to help make sure that your teen's money and spending aren't adding to the craziness. Cash App is designed to meet teens aged 13 to 17 where they are with intuitive and educational tools. Available through sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, teens gain access to a personalized Cash App card that comes in different colors and patterns to fit the teen style, and the ability to instantly access money from family and friends. Cash App makes managing money feel easier and honestly just cooler than other options out there. Cash App also has tools that can help teens develop real-world financial habits in a space that's safe and easy to navigate, all with your oversight and approval. If your teen is getting a first job, Cash App can get your teen access to paychecks up to 2 days early and can help achieve personalized savings goals all within the app. With Cash App, These tools become something your teen will actually want to use because they were designed with your teen in mind. Also, no one wants unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, there are no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirements, and no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock the card right from your phone in just one tap. Skip the stress and give your teen a way to learn financial responsibility with no hidden fees. Download Cash App and get started today, and for a limited time, a new Cash App customer can earn $10. Just use the code FAMILY10 in your profile at sign-up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Hey, if you enjoy this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of buddies who are Commanders fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. The latest episode examines the Commanders' positional needs this offseason. Enhance your Commanders content and check out the BGO Blind Pig podcast. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Commanders podcast rotation. So the NFL offseason is truly getting going now. This past Tuesday, February 17th, was the first day of the window within which NFL teams can place franchise tags and transition tags on players this offseason. That window goes from Tuesday, February 17th to Tuesday, March 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern. Next week is NFL Scouting Combine Week. The 2026 NFL Scouting Combine at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis is happening from Monday, February 23rd through Monday, March 2nd. We from Monday, March 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern until Wednesday, March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern have what is known as the legal tampering period, the period during which teams are permitted to contact and enter into contract negotiations with the certified agents of external players who are set to become unrestricted free agents this offseason. And then we on Wednesday, March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern have the start of the NFL's 2026-2027 league year, which marks when teams this offseason can begin officially signing external players who have become unrestricted free agents via expiring contracts, and marks when teams this offseason can officially begin executing trades of players. The Washington Commanders, they already have had a busy offseason with their coaching staff revamp, off going 5-12 in the 2025 regular season. We on February 10th had a press conference for head coach Dan Quinn, had an introductory press conference for the Commanders' new offensive coordinator David Blough, and had an introductory press conference for the team's new defensive coordinator Daronte Jones. We, during the Quinn presser, had this exchange between ABC 7 sports director Scott Abraham and Quinn.
With David and Durante, obviously two different people, two different coaches, but is there a common thread that both of them have that really kind of stood out to you in this process?
I think you'll find being around them, like the energy for teaching, about what that is, the ability to articulate that to everyone. When I know so much about David, but when I did so much research with Durante about the other players he's coached, and their feedback about what their position coach was like, it was remarkable, about his connection, his teachability, the way he, put belief into people to help raise their game up. And that hadn't just been from one player. That was from a number of players. So those are the type of things, from a leadership standpoint that you want to hear about developing players, making an impact, finding ways to teach it where it can be clear and concise and high standards and accountability. And when you hear players, talk that way about their position coach, that's a big deal. David, differently, like his office was right near mine, so almost on a regular basis we're in talking through things and ideas, and there's some strong coaches here on our staff to also support that vision of how we're going to do it. And so I'd say that's the common thread. These guys have like real energy for teaching and a real vision of what it should look like, and so I think those are the two common threads.
Well, what exactly should and will David Blough and Daronte Jones be teaching? I'm very pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast, Washington Commanders analyst and former Washington Redskins tight end Logan Paulsen. Logan was signed by the Skins as an undrafted free agent at UCLA in April 2010. He was with the Skins for the 2010 through 2015 seasons. He then played for the Chicago Bears in the 2016 season, the San Francisco 49ers in the 2017 season, and the Atlanta Falcons in the 2018 season, during which the Falcons head coach was current Commanders head coach Dan Quinn. Logan now does a lot of great work for the Commanders on their website and on their YouTube channel. He also is the co-host of the Take Command podcast and is the co-host of the Drive to the Draft podcast. You can follow Logan on X at Logan Paulsen NFL. Logan joined us on last Friday's show, episode 1260, to discuss why the Commanders want more under center snaps for quarterback Jaden Daniels and more. And Logan is back with us now to provide further analysis of David Blough and to discuss Daronte Jones. Hey, Logan, how are you?
I'm good, man. I really appreciate having me on, as always.
Yeah, great to have you on. So David Blough, he is just 30, youngest person to be hired as Washington offensive coordinator since the Redskins in January 2014 announced having promoted 28-year-old tight ends coach Sean McVay to offensive coordinator. Your 5 seasons with the Skins were McVay's first 5 seasons with the Skins, 2010 through 2015. McVay was with the Skins for the 2010 through 2016 seasons. He was an offensive assistant for the 2010 season. He was a Skins tight ends coach for the 2011 through 2013 seasons. He was the Skins offensive coordinator for the 2014 through 2016 seasons, and he now has had an outstanding 9-season run as the Los Angeles Rams head coach. The way that Blough is talked about is reminiscent of how McVay was talked about. Do you and Blough see similarities with McVay?
I mean, obviously, it's my relationship with Sean was much more comprehensive. Like, he was my tight end coach. I knew him really, really well. Like, we're good friends. And then obviously becomes the head coach. So I got to see kind of his process and his progression. Obviously, I've had interactions with Blough, but not nowhere near to the same magnitude or like the same comprehension. I will say I do get a vibe that he is a smart dude. I had a brief conversation with him yesterday, and I came away from the conversation like he said all the right things. Said all the things you should say, talked about the development of the offense, in my opinion, the correct way. And so I do think like at least there's that element to it. Like, I know he's very young, but he has seemingly a maturity to him, an understanding of what works at the NFL now. And really, that's all you can do. And again, this task that he's embarking on, this journey that he's embarking on, is a huge one. It's a huge responsibility, a huge lift. But I definitely got the sense that he understood that and understood the kind of the steps he needed to take to make this thing go and be successful in 2026.
There is so much that David Blough, as Commanders offensive coordinator, will be doing, right? Game planning, play calling, perhaps input in roster construction, managing the egos and personalities on offense. The biggest challenge for Blough as Commanders offensive coordinator is what?
Can I say all of the above? I mean, the first hurdle that he's going to have to negotiate is like just getting the playbook together. Like most coordinators, like I learned 5 offenses when I was in college. I learned a bunch when I was in the league, learned one in Houston, Atlanta, all the different spots I was at. And one of the things that all those guys have when they're new offensive coordinators coming to a system is they have a book, they have a system, they have something to reference, they have materials to look at. And so I think that's the first step, is like getting all that stuff together and kind of deciding the verbiage and the identity of the offense. So I think that's going to be the big first step that a lot of people forget about. But in terms of, the biggest challenge, having not done this before, I would have to say it's going to be game planning, because it is such a different process. And I think when, in his press conference, he talked about the influence Cliff had. He talked about the conversations he had with Ben Johnson, his time with Kevin O'Connell. All those guys really understand game planning at the highest levels. So I do think that's going to be beneficial. But when you're doing it yourself, it's like, what do I need to carry? Do I have too much? Do I have too little? Is this going to get us out of this look in this situation? And it's a really different process. And I think if you can kind of manage that, honestly, and really understand what the opponent is trying to do, I think it limits the impact of calling the game on the day, because you've prepped it so comprehensively on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people maybe don't think about, but to me, it's the game plan element, putting that thing together, making sure you have what you need, cut what you don't, and then you understand where that applies. It's going to really help you on Sundays.
That's interesting, because a big deal has been made of David Blough being a first-time offensive play caller, but it sounds like the game planning is the bigger deal.
Yeah, I think about with Kyle, one of the things that really, what made him a good OC, right, is that it wasn't necessarily his understanding of the offense that we had. It was the understanding of the defense and when those calls and moments applied, right? And I think that's what made him excellent, is like we had a long sheet, we could have a long sheet, 100 plays. We could have a short sheet, 75, 60 plays, something like that. And it didn't matter, because he knew what tool to use for the task. It's like a really good mechanic, right? It's like, hey, I know this requires this kind of tool, this kind of part, and I can get that together. And again, like that to me, some of the best offensive coordinators, like I do seminars now that I'm coaching, like listening to seminars more, and they always talk about it's not Sunday, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, like where that thing's starting to come together. Because if you don't select the right tools and select the right parts, you're going to be a fish out of water on Sunday.
Something else with David Blough, too, is, so yes, he is young, and yes, he has become the Commanders' offensive coordinator of just 2 seasons as a coach. He spent the last 2 seasons as the team's assistant quarterbacks coach. But what's also true is that he was a quarterback in the NFL for the 2019 through 2023 seasons, off having been a quarterback at Purdue. During Blough's introductory press conference as Commanders' offensive coordinator, had this back and forth between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Blough.
Hey, David. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When people discuss this, your limited experience coaching comes up, as you might have heard. But you also played quarterback, unlike a lot of the other offensive coordinators in the league. How do we translate 5 years or so of playing quarterback in the NFL equals to how many years of coaching?
I think it's a fair question. I think what I can kind of lean on is whenever those conversations have happened between the most important relationship in my eyes, between the quarterback and the play caller that I've seen take place, I've gotten to be in the room for all those conversations. Whether it was Matthew in Detroit or Jared in Detroit or Kirk in Minnesota or Kyler in Arizona for a little bit, it's like you get to be in the room where all those conversations take place, and you hear how the coordinator thinks. You hear, so while you're not maybe calling the play in the huddle as a backup like I was for the majority of my career, you get let in the chess match, of what a play caller is thinking, being on the headset, hearing the play call come in, the dialect, all the little things that go into making a well-oiled machine kind of run.
And obviously, you talk to different people, family, mentors, others about whether to do this. What do they think about this? Ultimately, you have to decide what to do. What was that final conversation like with yourself of like, I don't have to do this now. It's still got a long way to go, or hey, you never know where this opportunity will come up again.
I think when these opportunities come up with the men that we have on this roster, with the coaches that we have on the staff, with Dan Quinn and Adam Peters, you have to go for it. I don't ever want to live a life that is timid, and so we're going to go for it in a big way. And it's really exciting to think about, having this opportunity now where I'm sitting and going forward and just building it with the group that we have.
Yeah, good stuff there from David Blough. Much more with Logan Paulsen in moments. But if you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The NACE Law Group features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients. Led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the NACE Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C. injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. We're talking with Washington Commanders analyst and former Washington Redskins tight end Logan Paulsen. Daronte Jones, what would you like to see him do in terms of his defensive scheme?
Yeah, man, I think, me just kind of being a fan of football, I want to see a version of what they did in Minnesota because I think that's kind of the way defenses are going. I think it does a good job of insulating personnel, and I think it does a good job of insulating the back end of the defense. Now, I also really appreciate what he said in his press conference. This is a coach's coach to me with this kind of answer where he says, I have ideas about what I want to do, but I got to get to know the people here and get to know the personnel and how best to put them in the best positions to be successful. How many times have Washington Commanders fans been like, well, this is what we got to do, this is what we need, but we don't really have the right pieces to fit that mold. Like, I love the fact that the guy that's helming the ship understands that he's like, these are things that I want, but it might not work with the people that we have, and understanding the flexibility and the dynamism of what it means to kind of create the right defense for the people on the field.
What Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores does is sadistic, and it's
awesome. Yeah,
it's so appealing. He blitzes like a madman. The Vikings for the 2025 regular season per Sport Radar were number 1 in the NFL in blitz percentage at 44.3. Nearly 11 percentage points higher than the next highest team, the Atlanta Falcons, at 33.4. During Daronte Jones' introductory press conference as Commanders defensive coordinator, had this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Jones.
You've talked about wanting to be multiple and all your different stops in your coaching journey, but the last stop in Minnesota was with an ultra-aggressive scheme in Brian Flores. How much of that do you want to bring to Washington?
Well, it's about what we do well. If we have the players and their skill sets, some of the skill sets are to be aggressive. By nature, I'm an aggressive person by nature, just in the background. And not only with Brian Flores, his aggressiveness looks a little bit different than what it may have been in the past. But really, if you think about it, there aren't many differences between him and Mike Zimmer in terms of the aggression. There's just, Zim was more third down aggression. With Flo, it's more first, second, and third down aggression, right? And it just looks differently. Zim was more mug looks, whereas Flo is more all offsets. But there will be some incorporation of all that. I don't want to get too much into the X's and O's, but we will try to dictate the terms and change the math. There's a buzzword for you. But we will use that just with our adaptability and versatile approach. But I think the way the players help shape that. So it's all about players first and scheme second. And so based off what our players can do, we will do. If players can't do that, then we will do and put them in situations where they can be at their best. And so, yes, by nature, I'm an aggressive person. By nature, we want to become more aggressive in some way, shape, or form. Is that pressures, or is that just being more of attacking? Is that being more technique and fundamentals, attacking blocks, defeating blocks, tackling, and just doing the routine things routinely? That could also be seen as being aggressive as well when you're just playing technique. And so it's based off of what we have player-wise.
All right. How able to be replicated is what Brian Flores does?
I will say it takes great courage to run that defense. I'll say that. And so it is something you can duplicate here. I would say 100%. The principles apply whether you're in Minnesota or whether you're here. I just think it depends on how much chutzpah you have in these moments, right? Like you're calling all out pressure first, second, and third down in Minnesota. And again, it's awesome to watch, and it puts the offense under so much stress, but you're also exposing yourself to a tremendous amount of risk. Now, Flores and the way they've designed that defense, Daronte Jones was a part of that as well, have mitigated some of that risk in the back end, which is awesome to see. But, like how much risk are you willing to incur is really what it comes down to. And, Daronte Jones has played with coached under some guys that are very, very risky when it comes to defensive coordinators. Zimmer on third down was an absolute savage when it came to his third down pressure stuff, right? So he's got a lot of exposure to guys that tend to lean more aggressive. Now, Brian Flores might be one of one when it comes to the level of aggression, but we'll see. Schematically, it's definitely you can definitely duplicate it, but to the level at which you want to kind of do that, I think remains to be seen.
Daronte Jones, during his introductory press conference as Commanders' defensive coordinator, said nice things about the team's current defensive players. We, during the presser, had this exchange between J.P. Finley and Jones.
Dan Quinn mentioned that before you guys started talking about the roster, he asked you to just watch everything.
Yes.
When you watched this defense from last year, what would you describe as the strengths?
Young and athletic. I would say young and athletic. I know there are some older pieces there, but for the most part, especially the guys that we have in our system here, you look at the back end we're talking about Samer Steele, Trey Amos, Quan Martin, Will Harris. Those guys are athletic. Then you throw in a Reeves in there as well, who provides some versatility. And Owen's also another guy who's versatile. You look at McGee, you look at Luvu, you look at Madrano. Those guys are athletic and they're young. And up front you have some savvy vets up there, and then you have Newton, who's also a young player who has some mobility inside in the interior D line. And so when you look at that, the first thing that jumps off the tape is these guys can run and hit. And so you definitely want to use that to where guys are going forward versus going backwards.
Okay, something that I think a lot of us have wrestled with regarding the Commanders' bad defense this past season is how much was the bad defense bad talent versus how much was the bad defense bad coaching. When you look at what the team currently has on defense, do you see a major talent problem, or is the talent better than what the overall team defensive performance this past season was?
Yeah, I think, I've been a part of some teams that were really bad one year and then were really good one year, and we just changed scheme and changed coaching emphasis. I think there's a lot of pieces here to get really excited about. Like, I'm a Quan Martin stan. Like, I love that guy. I think he plays the right way. He's a good athlete. He's got good instincts, but there's been some inconsistency to his play. A little bit of that is probably coaching. A little bit of that's probably Quan. Same thing with Mikey. He's maybe a little bit miscast as a true nickel. Maybe he's a better outside player. Whatever it looks like. The thing that I feel the most with this roster is the lack of depth, right? I think that's the thing that I feel. It's like, I think the talent, like you could go out and play a game on Sunday with the guys we have and put up a really good fight if the scheme is there to support them. It's the depth, right? The rotational guys, your fifth pass rusher, your rotational linebacker, your nickel, like those positions that you look at Seattle, for example, are really well fleshed out. Like Seattle, they have 8 pass rushers, right? In Seattle, they have 2 awesome dime and nickel linebackers, right? They've got these role-playing safeties, right? They've got a nice backbone, a meaty depth to the roster, and I think that's what fans feel when they look at Washington, for example.
Who is the best defensive coordinator any of your teams ever had?
I was with Vic Fangio when I was in Chicago. That dude is an absolute maniac. The way he gets the guys to play, the way he puts the offense in conflict, he's got such a clarity of vision, right? I think that's the thing that I really appreciated about Vic when I was with him in Chicago. And I didn't talk to him like at all, but just in terms of how the defense played, like they knew exactly what to do. There was no gray area. And that's a testament that I give to him, because everywhere he goes, that's how the defense plays. Like they know exactly what the expectation is. And I think that's pretty cool.
Defense in the NFL is so interesting, is ever evolving. There's also the reality that so much of defense in the NFL is predicated on the quality of the quarterbacks who the defense faces. What to you is the best way of doing defense in the NFL in 2026?
Yeah, so right now I kind of feel like there's two trees, honestly, and I think there's another separation that might be happening at the moment. And one of them is the Vic Fangio, make everything look like quarters, play the light box, let's bring our exotic pressure on third down, but we're trying to win predominantly with, four-man rushes for most of the game until these critical moments, right? And obviously McDonald in the Super Bowl, he's a Vic Fangio disciple. Philadelphia, Vic Fangio's disciple. Minter, kind of this quarters. He's not a disciple of those groups, but definitely has a lot of principles that coincide with them. And then I would say there's the Brian Flores tree, right? Which you're starting to see teams adopt more of. Like I think about when I watched Atlanta film, for example. Like they had a very high pressure rate. They had these really well-designed blitzes on third down. And I think that to me is the other tree that I think is going to be really successful because of how it stresses the offense. Like I like to do like little mini game plans when I'm prepping each week to kind of say, this is what I would do. This is the run I would bring up or whatever it looks like. And I remember thinking like, I don't know what I would do if I was playing Brian Flores. And that is a terrible feeling to feel when you're getting ready for something. And I think like that is something that's really exciting. So to me, it's both. And I love that they both have different ways of approaching it. One is basically saying like, this is our approach, this is our philosophy, and we're going to do it better than you. Very similar like the Miami Tampa 2 teams back when Miami was really, really good, like Santana Moss was there. And this Flores thing is basically kind of taking he's turned the page a little bit and saying like, we are going to dictate everything to you offensively because of these aggressive looks we present. So I think they're both awesome. And I think it'll be interesting to see, if this Flores tree gets some more branches in the next couple of years.
Washington Commanders analyst and former Washington Redskins tight end Logan Paulsen. Logan, thank you. All the best.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, guys, present the best version of yourself via OneSkin, which is the best product for skincare. OneSkin formulas are powered by the OS1 peptide, a patented peptide built on longevity science proven to target aging at the cellular level. OneSkin supports the cellular repair that keeps your skin looking and feeling better as you get older. This is not about adding extra steps to your routine. No, this is about swapping in smarter ones. Born from over 10 years of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. And for a limited time, OneSkin is making it even easier to stay consistent with up to 30% off your first 3 subscription orders when you use the promo code GALDY at oneskin.co/GALDY. That's oneskin.co/GALDY and use the promo code GALDY. oneskin.co/GALDY, up to 30% off with the promo code GALDY. And after your purchase, you'll be asked where you heard about OneSkin. Please support our show and say that Al Galdi sent you. Hey, enjoy yourself with no worries. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Well, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. Make Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the next day. Enjoy drinks with friends. Enjoy drinks while watching the big game, and don't sacrifice your productivity for the next day. Start your night with Z-Biotics pre-alcohol and wake up ready to show up strong at work, clear-headed, focused, and back to business. Go to zbiotics.com/Galdi and you'll get 15% off your first order when you use the promo code GALDI at checkout. Plus, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Also, subscriptions are available for maximum consistency. That's zbiotics.com/Galdi. Use the promo code GALDI at checkout for 15% off.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
So ESPN NBA insider Shams Charania, he late Thursday afternoon reported that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver on Thursday informed the league's 30 general managers that the NBA plans to make anti-tanking rule changes for next season. You wonder what Adam Silver thought of what was on display at Capital One Arena on Thursday night. Two tanking teams, each trying to out-tank the other in a key game in which the loser was the winner. Our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards, they won, which means they lost. A 112-105 win over the Indiana Pacers at Capital One Arena on Thursday night on day one of the post-All-Star break portion of the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season, in which the Wizards now are 15-39 and the Pacers now are 15-41. The Wizards now are tied with the Brooklyn Nets for the fourth worst record in the NBA. The Pacers now are tied with the New Orleans Pelicans for the second worst record in the NBA. And the two teams meet again at Capital One Arena on Friday night. I tell you, these two games are like a tanking playoff series. And the extent to which each team tanked on Thursday night was something. So many key guys did not play for each team. Just look at the Wizards. So Tristan Vukcevic returned from a one-game absence caused by illness, but Alex Sarr did not play for a second consecutive game due to a right hamstring strain. Anthony Davis did not play for a fifth time in 5 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on February 5th, what was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. He's not playing due to a finger sprain on his left hand. D'Angelo Russell did not play for a fifth time in 5 games since being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade. Russell is being listed as not being with the team, and he may never play for the Wizards. Trae Young did not play for an 18th time in 18 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on January 9th. He's not playing due to a right knee sprain and a right quadriceps contusion. And Cam Whitmore is done for the season due to right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. Additionally, Wizards head coach Brian Keefe did not play 3 of his starters, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, and Tristan Vukcevic, at all in the fourth quarter. And Keefe had Justin Champagnie as a DNP-CD. And if you've been following the Wizards this season, you know that Champagnie has been a good player for the Wizards. The Wizards went out of their way to lose this game, and yet they won. The Wizards blew a 17-point third-quarter lead, but they in the fourth quarter went on a 14-0 run and ended up winning the game. That 14-0 run was killer. But this game was comical with how much each team wanted to lose it. I wholeheartedly endorse what the Wizards are doing in tanking, especially considering that they have a reported top 8 protected first-round pick in the perceived to be loaded 2026 NBA draft. But I totally get where Adam Silver is coming from. In no other sport do you get teams trying to lose as vociferously as in the NBA. By the way, Brian Keefe, during his post-game press conference on Thursday night, did get asked about not having Keyshawn George and Trey Johnson play at all in the fourth quarter. We, during the presser, had this exchange between Wizards insider Josh Robbins of The Athletic and Keefe.
What was your rationale for sitting Trey and Keyshawn in the fourth?
Trey's on a minutes restriction, and Keyshawn, and I think it was in the second quarter, lower foot problem. Just didn't want to, we got multiple games coming back here. I didn't want to put him out there for too long, start bothering him a little bit in the third quarter. So just want to be careful with him.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be careful. You got to be so careful. I give Brian Keefe credit. He's being a good soldier in the tank. By the way, the Wizards late Thursday afternoon provided updates on their two big in-season trade acquisitions, Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Will either guy actually play for the Wizards this season? Here was the full statement from the team. Quote, the Washington Wizards announced today the following injury updates for guard Trae Young and forward/center Anthony Davis. Young, who has been sidelined by a right knee MCL sprain and quad contusion, was reevaluated following the All-Star break and has progressed positively. He will ramp up his on-court activities, and further updates will be provided in a week. Davis, who is out with ligament damage in his left hand, was reevaluated by Dr. Stephen Shin of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles and is progressing as expected. Davis has not been cleared for basketball activity. Davis will be reevaluated in 2 weeks, and further updates will be provided as appropriate, end quote. Translation, don't expect to see Trae Young or Anthony Davis playing for the Wizards anytime soon. Now, also with our Wizards, encouraging words from LeBron James? ? I do think so. Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James and former Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks, and LA Lakers star and former Brooklyn Nets head coach Steve Nash, they actually do a podcast together, the Mind the Game podcast. The latest installment came out this past Tuesday, and we, during the installment, had this between Steve Nash and LeBron James.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Washington Wizards.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm very intrigued, and I'm very interested to see what happens and how this all comes about. Obviously, next year. It's kind of towards next year. I don't know.
So AD's out for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I think AD's out. We could be. That's what the talks of, and I think it's already been said maybe that Trae is not going to play this year as well. But I'm interested to see, what they do and how it all comes together. With AD, obviously we know the talent level is out of this world, and Trae, with his ability to play pick and roll game, his ability to shoot the ball, his lob threat. I love the young kid from France that they have on their team too. We just played him. Sarr. We just played him 2 weeks ago. Great touch, great feel for the game. Love the kid George as well, young kid, pretty good player. And then also the rookie kid that they got from Texas, Johnson. Trae Johnson, I think, it's going to be tough. Every year they have some pieces. And I think for the first time in a few years, we can say that Washington has grabbed some pieces. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and how they come together with a training camp, maybe with an off season. If guys get together, we'll see what happens with that. See how motivated, Trae and AD is to prove, Dallas and LA and Atlanta, how, listen, we know what we're capable of. But every year is different. Yeah. You got to look into the future, but it look like those are two all-stars.
All right, so LeBron James was pretty conservative in what he said about the Wizards there, but he does seem to be at least somewhat intrigued by what our team is doing, right? I mean, not that I really care about what he thinks, but he is one of the best players in NBA history, so I did want to at least hear what our guy Bron had to say. The Wizards this weekend have 2 games, home to the Indiana Pacers Friday night at 7, and home to the Charlotte Hornets Sunday evening at 6. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1266. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, discuss our Washington Wizards. They this weekend have 2 games, home to the Indiana Pacers Friday night at 7 and home to the Charlotte Hornets Sunday evening at 6. And on Monday's show, we'll talk college basketball, which this weekend includes Maryland home to Washington Washington, Saturday afternoon at 3. Georgetown at Seton Hall, Saturday evening at 6. Number 14, Virginia, home to Miami, Saturday afternoon at 2. Virginia Tech, home to Wake Forest, Saturday at noon. VCU at number 18, St. Louis, Friday night at 7. And Navy at Army, Saturday afternoon at 1:30. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
It's all about players first and scheme second. And so based off what our players can do, we will do.